Welcome back to the channel. So we got a Bobcat. So this is an older Bobcat. It's a 953. I got it because it was a 75 horse machine. And I thought it would be pretty cool having a heavier Bobcat than a normal Bobcat. The problem is the rack on these things is larger than a normal Bobcat. So unfortunately, you have to use 952 or 953 attachments. I believe that's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But they have a larger rack than normal skid steer accessories. So I'm going to make an adapter today so that we can run any accessory. So this skid steer came with a forklift that was kind of hodgepodge together. So I removed the rack from it, and then we're going to put a normal rack on it so that we can run any standard Bobcat accessory. So there's a link to this thing in the description below. It is just a standard Bobcat. What it's intended for is for a tractor, to convert your tractor so you can use skid steer stuff. I don't know why you saw me just cut off those the bottom plate. I don't know why they had those hanging down so far. If you use those like that, unfortunately, you would never be able to lay your bucket down flat. So I cut that off and I lined the bottom up. And now let's get it on there, and we'll see how we did. Okay, so now it's time for truth in this thing, and I found something, and you'll see me get really annoyed with it. The handles don't stay up on their own. So that makes it really inconvenient to put it on there, but nothing a couple bungee cords can't fix. I actually come up with a fix for that in a later episode. You'll see that here soon if you follow the channel. But I'll remove the bungee cords, and everything worked out just good. And then we'll plug them in. I actually had to change the fittings on this thing, so it had high flow fittings. So I changed the fittings just to normal standard Bobcat fittings, and everything seems to work good. It seems really rigid on there. This video is for you and for me, so that I can see if there's anything deflecting or anything when I was putting all the load and everything on the front of the bucket. It looked real good. So let's give it a try, and we'll see how we did. Okay, so I did find that using it like a rake at first is a little easier. Otherwise, a rock will roll underneath it and lift the whole front of the skid steer up. Just typical skid steer problems. The other thing I found is that I'm trying to sort the big rocks out, so I have to bounce the Bobcat up and down to get the dirt out. And then if you try to do too much with it at once, you really have to balance it, and you're sacrificing yourself, giving yourself jello brains. So that's the only drawback, but it actually works really well. And you know, I'm so far happy with it. I actually need it more for a grapple than I do a rock separator, but it worked pretty good for this scenario. All right. Another thing that I found was very helpful is if just digging in and dragging it straight back seemed to help quite a bit as well. All right, and I bumped the stand a little bit. Here it is laying flat, so you can kind of see how we did there. And you can see right there, if I hadn't cut the bottom off, it probably would have been dug into the ground right there. So it's definitely necessary to cut the bottom off if you're going to use that. Even if you're using it for its intended purpose on a front loader, you would still, I believe, have to cut that bottom off. Otherwise, you won't be able to lay a bucket flat. I mean, if you are going to use a bucket, but if you're converting your skid steer or your tractor to a skid steer, you may as well use skid steer buckets. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Remember, links to all the items in this are in the description below, and we have a lot more attachments coming on this channel for this skid steer that I'm going to start making them out of standard Bobcat plates. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.